What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the review and discussion for UnOrdinary episode 290. And oh boy, let me tell you that this episode literally starts off with a bang. So, John fights. John's fight against Liam and Candace. Caden has left with Sarah, told John, we need to get out of here. Leaves. John clearly says he's not leaving empty-handed. Now, as the fight begins, John can't really do much. He even says the more he moves, the tired he gets, and he's draining himself really quickly. And this is after the two have begun to attack him over and over again, but John continuously just teleports out of the way. And that's when John pulls the craziest thing he's done yet. I would say so anyway. If we aren't getting our abilities back, I'm going to make sure that none of you ever get to use yours either. And John destroys the recovery machine. Like, I wasn't expecting that. I was thinking that Uru would give John a major W in him actually being able to steal the recovery machine himself. That would have been hype. But holy shit, this was so much more in character, and it was so much more epic. It was basically a moment of John just saying, you know what? Fine, I'm not getting my ability back. You know what? I miss it, but fuck you. You're not getting to keep yours either. And oh my god, it was so baller. He launches an ice attack at it. And yeah, he launches an ice attack at it and it explodes. Now, seeing this, Candace and Liam launch one last assault at him as John just begins to breathe heavily and close his eyes. And then we cut to Doc's apartment. We're unsure of what happened to John. So, cut to Doc's apartment. As Caden arrives with Sarah, who is clearly in bad shape, Layla immediately goes to check on her, but Sarah notices that John is absent. And Caden says he was supposed to follow them back. Sarah then grabs Caden and asks Caden if he left him behind. And Caden makes a fair and honest point. I love John, you guys know that. But Caden makes a fair point that he can't control if John didn't listen to him. Again, it's kind of messed up, especially considering Caden most likely could have teleported both of them. And granted, it would have, drained a lot out of him and he would have been unconscious for a bit. But I would still say it is still fair that Caden could have done that, especially since he knows and John knows that John could teleport himself and get back to them anyway. So, yeah, honestly, I'm not mad at Caden for leaving John behind. Sarah, on the other hand, freaks out for the first time in a long time and lashes out not only at Caden, but also at Layla as she begins to cry, thinking that she might have lost John, that John won't be able to get out by himself, thinking it's possible he could be captured by Orin, which is honestly something that a lot of us have been fearing too. So she freaks out. And then she goes to Caden and demands that he take her back, just as John teleports right to them, nearly unconscious, about to fall to the floor, as Sarah catches him before he can fall down. John, seeing that he's in Sarah's arm, just says he's glad she's okay, and Sarah tells him that she thought she lost him. Kind of an inverse of their relationship in the first half of season 2, with John worrying about losing Sarah and, losing Sarah to begin with. But it was a really nice, sweet, and tender moment, and I really appreciated it. Doc does also take note of the two of them, though. And we then cut to him and Layla taking care of the bloody laundry of John and Sarah. And Layla asks him if he's okay. And Doc even tells her about all the times that John and Sarah were in the school infirmary. And even though John was injured quite a lot, the two of them were always still lively together, even mentioning Sarah's teasing of John all the time. And he reflects that today was the first time he's seen both of them so defeated together. And he swears that he's going to fix them. And honestly, I say this all the time, guys, but just more further proof that Doc cares about these students. He cares about these two. Despite how annoyed he may be with them a lot of the time, Doc still cares about the future, and he still cares about John and Sarah. Now, I wish we could have gotten a bit more from John and Doc's development, but honestly, it's fine at this point. It's fine. I don't need to see Doc be like a father figure or a big brother figure to John, because John has a father figure, and a really good one. We all love William, and William's a great dad. So honestly, as much as I did want that in the past, I don't think we're going to be getting that. I don't think we're going to be getting anything like that anymore. But it still is just nice to see like, Doc just, I don't think Doc just cares about John. He cares about students. He cares about kids as much as he claims he doesn't. He does not. So, yeah. So there is that. So the last thing in the episode, John and Sarah reflect on the mission. John even saying he's not sure if he can keep everything up for an incomplete recovery machine and for half of their abilities back. Even saying that he doesn't want to lose Sarah, just like she just told him that she thought she lost him. But Sarah tells him that they at least bought some time together, since Orin's high tiers won't be able to recover their abilities as easily now. So, yeah. So I think, just like Sarah says, they may have bought themselves some time for now before they have to figure out something else. And honestly, Uru did a pretty good job of setting that up for John and Sarah, because Doc's looking into what's going on with John's ability, since John can, re-access his aura channels after them being shut off. So, yeah, Doc's clearly going to get to work on that. And I think maybe before the season ends, we'll probably see, kind of like John and Sarah, or at least John, since it's John's ability that does that, back at full strength. So, John then asks Sarah about Liam and Candace having second abilities and what she thinks of that. And John confirms that he could not copy or read the aura, even asking if it's artificial. Sarah then brings up the info she got during the safe house trip on conversion technology. Honestly, kind of weird she's bringing this up now and not sooner, but it's honestly no big deal. I kind of thought that, she probably would have told everyone, like, hey, this is what I saw. This is what Spectre's working on right now. Like I said, kind of strange that she's only bringing this up right now. Honestly, no big deal, though. Honestly, no big deal. So yeah. So she brings up the information on the conversion technology. And she does confirm that it was developed by the authorities and that Spectre must have worked on to create their own. John even comments that he finds it creepy because it's exactly what he does, and wonders how they did it, how they were able to develop that. Sarah then comments that they are sourcing it from one subject named Jane, a name that we can assume is most likely not common in the world of UnOrdinary, just like John's name, and a name that John clearly recognizes. Because the last thing we hear this episode, did you just say Jane? Now, I believe John does know his mother's ability and her name. Because, let's be honest, most likely at some point, William probably told John about it. And more than it just being a gift from her. So I definitely think it's possible that John is putting the pieces together. And honestly, I said before, I really want Uru to handle the situation with Jane and John very carefully. I think, based on this little tidbit right here, I think we are going to see, I think she is going to handle it well. I don't think we're going to get something of John being like, oh, I've always wanted to get my mom back from me because she ran away, or something like that. I don't think, we're going to get like, his mom has always been a motivator for John, because, she clearly hasn't. That should have been brought up a long time ago, other than 291 episodes into the series. But I think it is going to be something like John thought his mom was dead, And he's kind of like, my mom's supposed to be dead. What's going on there? So, who knows? Who knows? Uru, I'm very confident that you're going to handle this the right way. So, there's that. Last note for today, and it's kind of something I didn't want to talk about, but I think I guess I will just touch on it. A lot of people in the chat during the reaction seem to pointing out that this seemed to have quite a lot of... I can't believe I'm going to say this. A lot of Jera material in this episode. While I personally don't care too much for ships, I think some can be cool, some can just be god-awful. I can't deny that, it was there quite a bit in this episode. So I am kind of curious, is Uru developing a bit of romanticality between John and Sarah now? Maybe? Probably? Most likely, honestly? It's not too often that friends are, especially of the opposite sex, are this close together and are just friends. So it's a bit hard to say at this point. We're just gonna have to wait and see what happens further. But yeah, like John and Sarah were fairly close and have been fairly close a lot more lately in terms of physical closeness and everything. So honestly, I'm not against John and Sarah being in a relationship by any means. I think I think if Uru is going down the route of John and Sarah getting into a relationship after all this fucking crazy bullshit that they're getting into is done and figured out, and they can just focus as much as possible on being normal teenagers again, and then they're like, hey, like, let's get married. That would be cool. Like, I don't think right now they should be like, hey, we're in a life or death situation. Okay. So, like, there's a scene in The Legend of Vox Machina, which is a really great series you should watch on Amazon Prime. If you're of age. It is an 18+ show. It's not anything, like, crazy graphic, but it's also, like, it's not for... It's for mature audiences. But there is a scene in it where Vex tells Keyleth that he loves her right while they're in the middle of like a battle for their lives, and he just looks at her and he just goes,
hey, you know I'm in love with you, right?
And she's just like,
wait, what? Now? I mean, this is like the worst time.
It's really hilarious. But so yeah, so long as like, Uru's not going to try and like, form a relationship while all this bullshit that they're in is going on right now, I think like, and like once they take care of all that bullshit and then they're like, hey, should we do this? Like, should we do this? And they're both like, yeah, let's do this. Yeah, I think it could definitely work there. But like, I think right now a relationship should not be the focal point of the series. I think you could definitely start to build the building blocks of a relationship, which Uru has done, quite a bit for this series, and quite a bit lately. Like, with the whole route and stuff, and them reflecting on everything, and even the physicality going on in this episode. I think Uru is setting up nice building blocks that can pay off later down the line. Once again, at least maybe after all this Spectre bullshit is through. Like, if Uru wants to put John and Sarah in a relationship together, after Spectre, before Authorities, I'd be okay with that. But like right now, while they're literally this close on the verge of death, might be a bit. I don't know about that, Uru. Either way, this episode, without a doubt, level 10 episode. The tail end of the fight, that was short, that was brief, but it was still so freaking cool. And once again, John just doing the most in-character fuck you thing ever was glorious. And I loved it. I loved it so much. Uru, thank you for awesome episodes. And I cannot wait to see what episode 291 holds in store. I can't wait to see what John is going to say about his mom. So, yeah. Let me know what you all thought about the episode down below in the comments. And as always, everyone, see you, Space Cowboy.